Spirit Airlines has officially ceased operations. How did it happen and what happens next? Then we finish up with some updates on Iran. All that and more right now. Welcome back to the Republic Brothers podcast. He's Matt. I'm Mike. Today is May 4th, 2026, and this is episode 54. Please hit that subscribe button now so you don't forget. Matt, it's been a chaotic weekend for the airline industry. As of May 2nd, Spirit Airlines has officially ceased all operations and begun an orderly wind down of the company.
Hey, good morning, guys. So earlier today, the company announced it was going out of business and ending its operations immediately, telling passengers to not even go to the airport, saying, quote, "To our guests, all flights have been canceled and customer service is no longer available." Despite the company's efforts, the recent material increase in oil prices and other pressures on the business have significantly impacted Spirit's financial outlook. With no additional funding available to the company, Spirit has had no choice but to begin this wind down. Well, this morning's announcement could impact hundreds of thousands of travelers and reportedly some 17,000 employees. Through the month of May, some 9,000 flights and 60,000 potential passengers are now impacted. Plus, the airline would have had 1.8 million seats to sell and would have had some 300 flights per day. Spirit's shutdown comes after a deal with the federal government could not be finalized and as the budget carrier struggled to get back on its feet after a second bankruptcy in less than a year. According to the Wall Street Journal, the airline had been seeking a $500 million lifeline from the Trump administration. The president said this yesterday.
Well, I guess we're looking at it. If we could do it, we'd do it, but only if it's a good deal. But if we can't make a good deal, no institution's been able to do it. I said, I'd like to save the jobs. We gave them a final proposal.
Well, now other major carriers are stepping up to assist stranded Spirit workers and passengers, including Frontier Airlines, who tweeted, quote, "We are ready to support customers who may be impacted if Spirit Airlines ceases operations, with a focus on helping people continue their travel plans with low fare options." United and American Airlines say they are also ready to help. American says it has capped ticket prices on routes where it directly competes with Spirit to help limit disruptions, guys.
There's a ton to unpack there. Spirit Airlines has been on thin ice for years. The Trump administration had proposed a $500 million federal rescue package that would have given the government a significant ownership stake. However, the deal collapsed on Friday after key creditors and bondholders refused to sign off, preferring a liquidation of assets instead of the government's terms. Spirit had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy twice in the last 14 months, back in November of 24 and August of 25. While they hope to emerge as a leaner company this summer, they basically ran out of cash. Many people point back to the 2024 DOJ decision to block Spirit's merger with JetBlue as kind of the beginning of the end, as it left Spirit without a partner to help absorb its mounting losses. Well, why wasn't that merger allowed? Many Democrats were against it and shot it down.
Why are we here today? There was a proposed merger between JetBlue and Spirit. And Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg, along with the Biden DOJ, decided that they did not want that merger to take place. And at the time, the Biden and Buttigieg DOJ bragged and said, as they canceled the option for this merger, that this was a victory for U.S. travelers who deserve lower prices and better choices. Now, many at the time said this was a disaster. This merger should have been allowed. And this today would indicate this is not better for travelers. This is not better for pricing. This is not better for competition. Actually, it's worse.
This is why we say we don't want government involved. Spirit was trying to climb out of the hole. JetBlue was their lifeline, and the Democrats shot it down and then celebrated it.
Yeah, the Biden administration looked at this and thought it was bad for travelers because there would be less competition in the airline industry, and they thought prices would go up. How wrong could they have been? They got exactly what they wanted to avoid. Great for other airlines that they went out of business because there is less competition now. There are dozens of airlines in the US, so two of them merging was not going to be a massive impact to consumers. Of all industries you can look at, aviation is not one of them. where there's a lack of competition, in particular on the airline side. There may only be 2 builders of airplanes, but there's plenty of airlines.
Yeah, the one thing that Democrats didn't want to happen, or at least what they said they didn't want to happen, is exactly what ended up happening. You should have just let them merge because now they're out of business. And according to them, prices are going to go up.
And thousands of people are out of a job.
Yeah. So what happens next? All Spirit flights are canceled. Major carriers like United, American, and Delta have implemented rescue fares and fare caps to help stranded travelers. If you paid by credit card, most experts recommend initiating a chargeback immediately, since the automatic refunds through the bankruptcy estate could take months. Approximately 17,000 jobs, including contractors, are affected by this. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has stated the administration is working with other airlines to help displaced workers find new roles. With the largest ultra-low-cost carrier gone, travel experts predict a rise in airfares on many domestic routes where Spirit previously forced the legacy airlines to keep their prices competitive. I understand people not wanting the big companies to just be able to charge whatever they want, but obviously Spirit Airlines wasn't charging enough money, or they wouldn't have filed for bankruptcy, sought a bailout from JetBlue, and ultimately had to shut down.
They took on too much debt for their strategy to work. Low-cost airlines make everything very simple and charge for anything extra rather than just having one all-inclusive ticket. They try to offset costs by flying the planes non-stop as well. Spirit clearly made some mistakes, and now a bunch of people are out of a job.
Yeah, that's the one thing everybody complained about with Spirit, is you show up to the airport and you got to pay all this extra money just to get a bag on the plane or something like that. But that was their business model, and it obviously didn't work.
Yeah, and every bag you put on the plane means the plane needs to burn more fuel. It may be a small amount, but it all adds up. And to keep costs low, they don't want you bringing anything with you unless you're going to pay for it.
Yep. I feel bad for the people who lost their jobs and all the people who lost out on their flights, but I don't feel bad for the company or the CEO. Is that too harsh?
No, the company was poorly run, and that is why you don't feel bad for the CEO, because the blame falls on him. The people at the top made more money, so they have more time before they need another job. The average worker is looking for a job 5 minutes after they got told that this company was going to fold.
It sucks too. I heard a lot of them, the way they found out is they woke up, like they're getting ready to go to work, and then all of a sudden, they're like, nope, don't show up. You don't have a job anymore.
Yeah, the airline quite literally messaged people that had tickets to fly with them not to come to the airport because their plane was not taking off. I did see in a heartwarming story that there was a pilot for Spirit whose last flight was supposed to be the morning they ceased operations. And Southwest Airlines actually gave that pilot his last flight. Not flying the plane, but he got a warm welcome and was applauded by the passengers on the plane.
That's good. I wonder how many pilots were like stuck. Like they had just flown somewhere and they were away from home. And then, they're supposed to fly home the next day or back to their hub city. And then
now they have to buy a plane ticket with a different airline.
That's just crazy. But that was always the joke about Spirit and how cheap they were. So, I mean, that's what you expect, right?
It's a hard business, and you have to expect some to fail.
All right, well, let's move on to our next topic. We have some updates on Iran. Since our last episode on Wednesday, April 29th, the situation regarding the war with Iran has seen significant movement, transitioning from a shaky ceasefire to a high-stakes diplomatic standoff involving a new 14-point peace proposal and a major U.S. maritime operation. Over the weekend, Iran submitted a new 14-point counterproposal via Pakistan. The plan reportedly suggests a 3-phase end to the war within 30 days, including a mutual non-aggression pact between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. President Trump initially stated on Friday that he was not satisfied with the terms. However, as of Sunday evening, he told reporters that negotiations were going very well, but remained firm that Iran had not yet paid a big enough price for its actions. A major hurdle is the timeline for nuclear discussions. Iran's proposal seeks to end the war and lift the naval blockade first, delaying talks on its nuclear program to a second phase. Now, we've mentioned that before, and that's a terrible idea. The U.S. has historically demanded the surrender of enriched uranium as a prerequisite for ending hostilities.
We're getting peace proposals, but they're not coming from the gay Ayatollah. He isn't actually in charge. The military's making him put out statements like Baghdad Bob. No Lips says our bases are paper tigers. Okay, Lips. The moderates, they want a deal, but the military wants suicide by cop, by Trump. Hardliners believe the embargo's an act of war, and they want to start shooting. They're either bluffing, have a death wish, or just want to jack up oil prices again to squeeze for.
The hardliners of the military are the ones doing the negotiating, and they will never agree to give up enriched uranium. They feel they need a nuclear weapon, so this will not happen again, and they will not give it up. Trump is dragging this out to negotiate an end to this, but the longer this goes, the worse it gets for the president. The message should be simple: unconditional surrender, or we keep shooting and making life difficult for them until they agree to unconditional surrender.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But once again, we have Iran making threats about the Strait of Hormuz, but it doesn't seem like they're actually doing anything about it.
An Iranian parliament leader admonished the president over the new shipping operation. Here's what he wrote on X. Warning: any American interference in the new maritime regime of the Strait of Hormuz will be considered a violation of the ceasefire. The Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf would not be managed by Trump's delusional posts. No one would believe blame game scenarios. And Pakistan, by the way, and this just came in this morning, now says the U.S. is returning a seized Iranian ship in what they're calling a confidence-building measure.
It is big talk from someone who can't break the naval blockade on their own ports. Most of their military is at the bottom of the Persian Gulf.
Yeah, and President Trump announced that starting today, May 4th, the U.S. will begin a mission to guide these stranded neutral ships out of the Strait of Hormuz.
Joey, so just minutes ago, we got this news that President Trump announcing a new operation. This is Project Freedom, that will allow some of the ships that have been stuck in the Strait of Hormuz to be safely escorted out of that waterway. The president, who is here in Doral at his golf club watching the PGA Cadillac Championship, posted this on Truth Social, saying, "For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business."
Ibrahim Azizi, head of Iran's National Security Commission, warned that any U.S. interference in the new maritime regime of the Strait would be considered a violation of the ceasefire.
They are trying to scare Trump into doing what is best for them. They think that way because they see Democrats in the U.S. say we are losing the war. So that's what they think is best. They know the only pressure on Trump is from the inside. We are not losing the war, but Democrats do not want Trump to have any wins, so they root against America to spite Trump. Trump will want the Strait reopened because it will bring energy prices down. But the uncertainty is still going to be there, so prices aren't going to fall much until a guaranteed end to the conflict occurs.
Here was President Trump on the blockade and his feelings on Congress getting in the way.
Congress, you said the hostilities in Iran that started have been terminated. How can you say that given that the naval blockade is still being militarily enforced?
Well, it's a very friendly blockade. Nobody's even challenging it. Nobody at all is challenging it. Just so you understand, many presidents have been involved in things that are very big. They never had to go through anything with respect to Congress. They considered it to be totally unconstitutional. And the Democrats in Congress that push this, and probably a couple of Republicans, they're hurting our negotiating ability, which is infinite right now. And they shouldn't be doing it. It's never happened before. No other president's done it. And I'm not going to be the first.
Well, that is old news now because the New York Post just reported at 1 p.m. on the 4th of May that they sank 6 Iranian boats near the strait that were harassing ships. Nothing really friendly about what's been happening for 47 years with Iran. Trump also warned the regime that they could be blown off the face of the earth if they interfere with our efforts to reopen the strait. Sinking 6 boats is a good start to proving that you will actually do that.
Yeah, Iran's obviously not going to get out of the way, so we just need to keep shooting, basically. Now, despite the ceasefire, the UK maritime trade operations reported an attack on a bulk carrier by multiple small craft near the strait on Sunday. In southern Lebanon, Hezbollah claimed 11 attacks against Israeli forces. That's the highest 24-hour total since the ceasefire began on April 16th. The U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports remains in effect. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent noted on Sunday that while energy prices remain high due to the conflict, they are expected to decline significantly once a resolution is reached. So how far away are we from a resolution?
I would be stunned if there was any solution that wasn't military. These are not people that will negotiate in good faith. They chant death to America and death to Israel. So do you think they're going to surrender to those two nations? I do not.
No chance.
Hezbollah breaking their ceasefire is not a good idea. Israel would now be justified in strikes against Hezbollah. I'd be shocked if they didn't to send a message. That's what keeps them secure. They know to strike harder than anyone hits them. On energy prices, yes, they will come down once the conflict ends, but the longer it takes for us to finish, the longer it will take for prices to come down. Only the UAE and Saudi Arabia designed their wells to ramp up oil production really quickly. Most of the other nations in the Gulf don't have that ability, so if they have to shut them down, it will take longer to restart production.
I think that's the main thing that people are looking at these days is, as we've said before, gas prices. Gas prices going up is what everyone is judging how it's going, right? So obviously we need to move things along so we can get gas prices back down.
And he needs to end it long before the midterms, so it's not a weapon the left can use against him.
Yeah. Well, we are at the end of the show, and after starting our government shutdown counter just a few episodes ago, Matt, it is already over. The shutdown ended on April 30th when President Trump signed H.R. 7147 into law. The partial shutdown that affected the Department of Homeland Security lasted for 76 days, making it the longest in U.S. history. While the DHS shutdown has concluded, funding for Immigration and Customs Enforcement and border protection is currently being handled through a separate budget reconciliation process to avoid further lapses. As of today, May 4th, all federal agencies are operational.
Maybe we were the good luck charm with our government shutdown counter. Probably not.
One can dream.
I'm glad it's finally over, and the workers who went 2.5 months without a paycheck can finally get back to a normal life without the uncertainty about whether they will be able to pay their bills.
Yeah, but don't you think we'll just run into this again next year when they have to redo the budget?
Almost certainly. This will most likely become an annual thing, probably for a long time. When Democrats win the presidency again, and they will eventually, why wouldn't Republicans just do this back to them? They wouldn't negotiate on certain things. Republicans wouldn't negotiate on certain things. So we're going to do it back and see how they like it. It's all a game of politics, and one side folds when they realize they're going to get blamed for it.
Yep, it is a never-ending cycle.
Well, that brings us to the end of the episode, so that means it's blind ranking time. Going with the same topic as last time, you have 2 tickets to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. I will give you some hockey players. All of these players are active. You rank them 1 to 5 without knowing who comes next. Are you ready?
Fire away.
The first name up, because I know you're a big fan, Evgeny Malkin.
Evgeny Malkin. See, the question is who else is coming next?
That is always the question.
I'm going to put Gino at 2.
Number 2, okay.
I'm going to save 1 for somebody else. There's a few names that I would put above Gino, so yeah, I'm going to put him at 2.
Next name on the list is Connor McDavid. He will be a bit of a sourpuss after his team got eliminated in the first round.
I'm just not a huge fan of him. Call it my Sidney Crosby bias if you want to.
That's what it is.
But I'm going to... Oh, man. I just don't know if you're going to give me anybody that I just wouldn't want to sit with. I'm going to put Connor at 4.
Number 4, I have a feeling I know where the next name goes. Your favorite rat, Travis Konechny.
5. That's easy.
I knew that when I put him on the list. Next up, you have Brad Marchand.
Ooh. See, that would be a good one, I think. I think he'd be a blast to sit next to. But do I want to put him at 1 is the question.
He's got a personality.
That's true.
That's a good thing, right?
I have 1 and 3 left, right?
Yep, 1 and 3.
Who are you going to give me last? I'm going to put Marchand at 1.
Number 1. Okay. That means your number 3 is Tom Wilson. Your
I'm okay with
favorite
that.
enforcer.
I'm okay with it. I would much rather sit next to Tom Wilson than Travis Konechny. So, not bad. I like it. I'm good with that.
Given the recent history with Travis Konechny, I knew that would happen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I am glad that I put Gino at 1 because I think I would definitely rather sit next to Marchand than Gino. I mean, I love Gino. I'm a big Pens fan, but
I thought he would be number 1 for you.
I just wasn't sure who else was coming, so I had to save 1.
So Brad Marchand 1, Evgeny Malkin 2, Tom Wilson 3, Connor McDavid 4, and Travis Konechny 5.
Yeah, I think that's a good list. I'm good with that. Maybe I would have switched Tom Wilson and Connor McDavid, but then again, I also feel like Tom Wilson would be a better hang than Connor McDavid, so...
Plus, if you get in a fight, wouldn't it be great to have Tom Wilson with you?
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for episode 54 of the Republic Brothers podcast. Before you click away, please hit the subscribe or follow button. New episodes drop every Monday and Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.